As I know many of you heard from my trip to Moscow, characterized to President Putin that the relationship between our two nations was the lowest it's been since the Cold War. He did not disagree. He shrugged his shoulders and nodded in agreement. And I said it's spiraling down. It's getting worse.
All right, so let's just say the bloom is off that rose, and if people were saying that, Vladimir Putin would have Donald Trump in his hip pocket, no pocket. In fact, no love lost there. In fact, it is getting worse, if anything. So, retired Lieutenant Colonel Allen West, what do you think of that? If the message seems to be from this administration, from the president on down to his Secretary of State, no more. Now, obviously, we have a lot of threatening activity on both sides. Russian jets that seem to always be flying near or over Alaska, and then this new Syria plan concocted with the likes of Iran and others as a no-fly zone for U.S. jets. Where are we going here?
Well, it's good to be with you, Neil. And of course, Vladimir Putin has taken advantage on the almost 8-year head start he's gotten on the Trump administration. When you look at the fact that earlier this week, on the 69th anniversary of the modern-day state of Israel's independence, Russia supported a resolution against Israel and against Jerusalem as their capital, supporting the Palestinians. And of course, Mahmoud Abbas was in Washington, D.C. with President Trump. We know that Russia, along with Turkey and Iran, has carved up Syria, and they are creating these safe zones, which are really no-fly areas for U.S. forces, which will hinder our operations against ISIS. So I think one of the most important things we need to do is strengthen our economy. I think we had a good jobs number today, and we saw the unemployment rate go down because Russia has a failing economy, and they cannot continue to have these extended lines of logistical support that you see from Russia over to the Ukraine or against the Baltic states or even out to Syria. So I think that's one of the most important things that we can do and try to solidify a diplomatic solution against them.
You know, I'm just wondering, though, if Russia keeps doing what Russia keeps doing and getting very provocative, it does so in virtually every hemisphere on the planet now. That is very Cold War echoing back. No sooner are we looking at one region than we're chasing jets, out of Alaska. Where is this going?
Well, you're right. We're playing another case of global whack-a-mole, the same as what we're doing with Islamic jihadism, because we know that Russia is supporting Taliban and other Islamic jihadist forces against us in Afghanistan, much the same as we did with the Mujahideen during the Soviet-Afghan war. But I think that with a strong foreign policy, with a strong economic strengthening, you also have to have a deterrent military capability and capacity that can back that up. And I believe that that is one of the real challenges for the Trump administration, to restore that military capability capacity that will let people know that we have this credible force that will back up a strong foreign policy, which will be a great card for Rex Tillerson to be able to play.
What would we do, Colonel, if the Russians have these new, I guess they've done, there are going to be 4 different regions they're going to corner off to protect, apparently, Syrians, they say. But if they're in these quadrants that U.S. jets cannot fly, how do we respond to that? We're obviously going to ignore that, but what's going to happen the first time a fighter jet of ours is over one of those zones, no-fly zones?
Well, we need to make it very clear that we intend to go after ISIS, and we intend to deny them the sanctuary that they have there in Raqqa, and any type of obstacle or impediment that presents itself, we're going to disregard it, and we would highly recommend that Russia does not do that. But I think the most important thing is to, once again, try to isolate Russia from support in Syria, because logistically and economically, they cannot continue this type of support in Syria until they have a strengthening economy, which means that our energy program should be about producing, consuming, and exporting our energy resources to those nations in Europe which are really dependent upon Russia, so that, again, we starve them out from the energy, I guess, hostage-taking that they have done with a lot of these European countries.
Allen West, good seeing you.
Always a pleasure, Neil.
Be well, my friend. All right, now, White House briefing room. It's